Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. We will go back to the tafsir class, commentary on Surah Al-Baqarah, and we had been talking about verse number 26. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَسْتَحِي أَن يَضْرِبَ مَثَلًا مَا بَعُوضَةً فَمَا فَوْقَهَا. We had completed talking about this verse. It ends at أولئك هم الفاسقون. And then the following verse, الذين ينقضون وما يضل به إلا الفاسقين الذين ينقضون عهد الله من بعد ميثاقه ويقطعون ما أمر الله به أن يوصل ويفسدون في الأرض أولئك هم الخاسرون. The following verse continues to talk about those people who are labeled as Fasiqeen. Fasiqeen means they have departed from the straight path, from the way of Allah Azza wa Jal. And we talked about the meaning of Fasiqeen. One of their qualities was mentioned in the previous verse, which is the quality of always objecting to what Allah says and teaches them in the Quran. Of course, they will also object to what the Messenger ﷺ says in his hadith. Rather than trying to benefit and trying to find the wisdom behind the teachings, their habit is to object. ماذا أراد الله بهذا مثلا, which is a very bad quality, knowing that this is a book of Allah. The wisdom and knowledge contained in it is way above the collective wisdom and knowledge of all humanity. So if someone does not understand a statement or a phrase or a concept, he should know that his lack of understanding is due to his shallowness of his own knowledge, not that there's a wrong concept. And if he researches enough, he will come to know the truth. And then the other qualities mentioned in the following verse, which I just recited to you in Arabic, الَّذِينَ يَنْقُضُونَ عَهْدَ اللَّهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مِيثَاقِهِ. Those who violate God's covenant after it has been affirmed. وَيَقْطَعُونَ مَا أَمَرَ اللَّهُ بِهِ أَن يُوصَلَ. And break whatever ties God has ordered to be maintained. وَيُفْسِدُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. And they spread corruption in the land. It is they who are the losers. It is they who are the losers. They violate God's covenant. يَنْقُضُونَ عَهْدَ اللَّهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مِيثَاقِهِ. The mithaq of Allah, or the covenant of Allah between that He has made between Himself and His servants, human beings, jinn wal ins. They say that one of them is that mithaq al-fitra. Allah has this bond between us and Him that entails that we should worship Him. And we are bound by multiple different kinds of covenants. One of them is the fitrah, the natural inclination that Allah has created in every human being to know His Creator and feel obligated to show gratitude and humility towards the Creator and obedience. This is a natural feeling every human being who realizes that he has a Creator has towards that Creator, just knowing how insignificant and weak we are and how dependent we are on this Creator in Him bringing us to existence and sustaining us through every moment of our lives and managing all of our affairs and being in control of this whole universe and being in control of our lives. This in turn creates this natural inclination to worship Allah Azza wa Jal. You don't even have to make any kind of effort. It's something that is programmed within you. This is mithaq al-fitra. Another kind of covenant that bonds us towards Allah Azza wa Jal, or make us feel the obligation to worship Him, is mithaq al-aql. That Allah Azza wa Jal gave us the sound mind, the intellect as well. So even if somebody's fitrah becomes distorted for some reason because of the environment he grew up in, or the practices that he was involved in throughout his life, the mind, the principles, the logical principles Allah has given us, a person can use them to reach and find his way back to his creator. And you find lots of people who fell into atheism. Their fitrah is totally gone, but if they are sincere in using, and they use their mind and logical principles and logical arguments, and that's pure logic, they can go back and find their creator. And we found many atheists who came back to Allah Azza wa Jal, the Most High, through through mithaq al-aql. And then another mithaq, another covenant. That's why Allah says, يَقْطَعُونَ, you will see also He says, وَيَقْطَعُونَ مَا أَمْرَ اللَّهِ يَنْقُضُونَ عَهْدَ اللَّهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مِيثَاقِ, which means the mithaq of Allah, the covenant of Allah, has been reinforced. It's not just one mithaq. There's the fitrah, there's the aql, the mind and intellect, but also there's mithaq al-rusul wal-kutub. Allah, on top of that, sent messengers and prophets, messengers, prophets, and sent down books, basically to reaffirm both the fitrah and the aql. And Allah took it upon Himself not to hold anybody accountable and punish them unless they also receive this third one, mithaq al-rusul. Mithaq al-rusul and wal-kutub. Allah says, وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذِّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. Yes, people could be guilty because they never used their mind or their fitrah correctly, but still Allah will not punish them. He will only punish a person after he is exposed and gets to know the message that Allah sent through the messenger and understand it, and still reject it or refuse it or neglect it and run away from it. وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذِّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. The evidence for mithaq al-fitrah, the fitrah means the natural inclination to worship Allah. The Messenger ﷺ says, كُلُّ مَوْلُودٍ يُولَدُ عَلَى الْفِطْرَةِ. Every human being is born upon this natural inclination and instinct to worship his creator. Everybody. فَأَبَوَاهُ يُهَوِّدَانِهِ أَوْ يُمَجِّسَانِهِ أَوْ يُنَصِّرَانِهِ. But it is his parents and environment that changes his path and takes him out of this fitrah. Another hadith, وَإِنِّي خَلَقْتُ عِبَادِي حُنَفَاءَ كُلَّهُمْ ثُمَّ إِنَّهُمْ جَاءَتْهُمُ الشَّيَاطِينُ فَاجْتَالَتْهُمْ عَنْ دِينِهِمْ وحرمت عليهم ما أحللت لهم وأمرتهم أن يشركوا بي ما لم أنزل به سلطانا. The meaning of this hadith, it is hadith Qudsi, in which Allah says, I have created all my slaves, every human being, hunafa, meaning leaning towards worshipping Allah and leaning away from evil, leaning towards goodness and leaning away from evil. And that is why you find that human beings have this natural inclination to justice, goodness and truth. You see nowadays with what is happening in Gaza, that you see now people who are not Muslims. Did you see what happened in the Congress when people stood with their hands in red, showing that you're killing people, you're killing the children, and they objected multiple times. He couldn't even finish his speech. That is their natural, this is the fitrah. The fitrah not only entails worshipping Allah, but the fitrah also involves all the major principles of Islam, such as justice, truthfulness, peace, honesty, everything that Islam calls for, that's actually in our fitrah. Allah says, فَأَقِمْ وَجْهَكَ لِلدِّينِ حَنِيفًا فِطْرَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي فَطَرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا لَا تَبْدِيلَ خَلْقِ اللَّهِ. He says, be steadfast on this religion. And then he said that this religion is the fitrah. This religion of Islam is the fitrah. It is in harmony with the fitrah. So the hadith says, وَإِنِّي خَلَقْتُ عِبَادِي حُنَفَاءَ كُلَّهُمْ. I've created them all according to this inclination towards worshipping Allah, showing gratitude to Allah, showing gratitude to anybody who does good to you, loving justice, loving honesty, loving truth, and all these things. Loving mercy, all these are natural in every human being. You don't have to think about it too much. It just comes naturally. ثم إنهم جاءتهم الشياطين فاجتالتهم عن دينهم. So he called the fitra deen, just like the ayah said, دين حنيفة فطرة الله. He says, but the shayateen mean the devils, and that would include shayateen al-ins wal-jinn, the devils from amongst the human beings, and the devils from amongst the unseen creatures, the jinn, the spirits or the jinn, the demons, which we believe in as Muslims. They are the ones who have taken people away from their fitrah. A person, when he goes against his fitrah repeatedly, the fitrah itself becomes distorted. And then he starts loving what is opposite to the fitrah. He would start loving cruelty. He would start loving injustice. You know, the psychopathic people, from their practices, they reach these levels where they have no remorse. That's one of their features, right? So, وَإِنَّهُمْ جَاءَتْهُمُ الشَّيَاطِينُ فَاجْتَالَتْهُمْ عَنْ دِينِهِمْ وَحَرَّمَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ مَا أَحَلَّ لَهُمْ. And then the shayateen also distort the laws that Allah Azza wa Jal set for the people, and order them to worship other than Allah. Another hadith about the fitrah, which I came across today, is that the Muslims one time went into a battle. And I would like to mention this hadith because it also relates to what is happening in Gaza today. So they went into a battle with some polytheist tribe. What happened is, some of the companions of the Prophet, they obviously were, it was one of the earlier battles. They did not know very well the laws of engagement in battle that Islam has set, that you do not kill any women, you do not kill any children, you do not kill any elderly people. These are all laws and rules that Prophet ﷺ made it very clear in his teachings. You do not kill any non-combatant. You do not approach anybody who is worshipping in the places of worship. All these things. You do not cut trees. All these things. Do not demolish buildings. You do not set things on fire. Many rules. But anyhow, they did not know. So they not only killed the combatants, but they also killed some children. So Prophet ﷺ, when he knew about this, he said to them, مَا بَالُ أَقْوَامٍ جَاوَزُوا الْقَتْلَ حَتَّى قَتَلُوا الذُّرِّيَّةِ. He says, why did people go to the extreme and exceed the boundaries by killing children? So one of the people, he didn't know that there were laws in Islam for fighting. He says, إِنَّمَا هُمْ أَوْلَادُ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. He said to Messenger ﷺ, but those are the children of the polytheists. So Prophet ﷺ responded to him and said to him, أَلَا إِنَّ خِيَارَكُمْ أَوْلَادُ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. Subhanallah. He says, do you not know that the best amongst you are the children of the children to parents who are not Muslims? And we see that many people who embrace Islam, who were born to non-Muslim families, are better Muslims than Muslims born to Muslim families, right? He says, أَلَا إِنَّ خِيَارَكُمْ أَبْنَاءُ الْمُشْرِكِينَ. And then he mentioned the hadith of أَلَا إِنَّ كُلَّ نَسَمَةٍ تُولَدُ عَلَى الْفِطْرَةِ, that they are born with the natural principles of Islam inside them. They are considered, and that is why they are considered in the akhirah, they are dealt with as Muslims, which means that the children of the non-believers, if they die before they reach the age of puberty and choice and adulthood, if they die, they actually go to heaven. They actually go to heaven because they are according to the fitrah, natural inclination. So we talked about the bond of the fitrah, the bond of the mind that Allah Azza wa Jal has placed within us, that attaches us to Allah Azza wa Jal and brings us back to Allah, and also the messengers and the books that Allah has sent down. ينقضون عهد الله من بعد ميثاقه. How many minutes? We're going for 13 minutes. Maybe we'll finish it within a minute and a half. ينقضون عهد الله من بعد ميثاقه. So the covenant of Allah has been reaffirmed in multiple ways. And then there's some other covenants as well. وإذا أخذ الله ميثاق النبيين لما أتيتكم من كتاب وحكمة وإذا أخذ الله ميثاق الذين أوتوا الكتاب لتبيننه للناس. All the obligations that come within the Sharia of Allah, within the Deen of Allah, are also individual covenants as well. So there's a big covenant of the religion through the messengers and the books, and within it, everything important is also another covenant that we have to keep as well. ينقضون عهد الله من بعد ميثاقه ويقطعون ما أمر الله به أن يوصل. And they sever whatever Allah has break whatever the ties that Allah has ordered to be maintained. Now the ties that Allah has ordered to be maintained basically are two categories. The tie between us and the Creator, and a tie between you and the rest of Allah's creation. Because there are ties between, we talked about the first tie in the first ينقضون عهد الله من بعد ميثاقه. The second tie is basically between us and the other creation. And that's very important, because some Muslims think that their role as Muslims is only to worship Allah. They do not feel that they are actually obligated to do certain things towards their community, towards their family, towards their parents, towards their neighbors, towards their society. They feel I can just worship Allah at home, and I have nothing to do with whatever my neighbor is suffering from. I don't have to visit the sick. I don't have to help the poor. I don't have to feel for the pain of the Muslims. This is an example of وَيَقْطَعُونَ مَا أَمَرَ اللَّهُ بِهِ أَنْ يُوصَلَ. This is fusuq right away. This is the feature of the fasiqeen, the degenerate, the rebellious, the people who have left the path of Allah Azza wa Jal. They haven't reached the kufr, they are not kuffar, but they have committed major sins. But because the sin is not only to approach what Allah has prohibited. Some of the major sins are actually to abandon an obligation that Allah has commanded. يعني فعل الأوامر. There's nawahi and there's awamir. There's obligations and there's prohibitions. Our mind, when we come to think about sins, is that, oh, you approached the prohibition, you drank alcohol, or you committed adultery. No. There's also kaba'ir and major sins that relate to not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Like somebody who doesn't pray. Okay, not praying is one of the worst major sins, correct? It's actually worse than actually adultery and drinking alcohol. But people think about sins only in that one direction, not the other direction. So here is that there are ties that we have to maintain. Respect towards the parents, kind towards your relatives, to be part of your community and help out within your community. I will finish with this one hadith, and then we'll continue this ayah some other time. Prophet ﷺ says, ثلاثة لا يغل عليهن. Actually, before that, he says, نضر الله امرأ سمع مقالتي فوعاها وحفظها ثم أداها كما سمعها فرب مبلغ أوعى من سامع. The meaning is that may Allah grant beauty and grant wealth and well-being to the one who hears my sayings, meaning the prophetic sayings, فوعاها, understands them, وحفظها, and tries to memorize them by word, ثم أداها, and then delivers them. He didn't say كما وعاها, he says كما سمعها. Very important. And then delivers them right to the word as in the same manner that he heard it. He says he should understand it, but when you deliver it, you don't deliver it according to your understanding. ثم أداها كما سمعها. He says you have to deliver it according to what you heard, not according to what you understood. You don't try to replace words as much as you can, of course. It's not like the Quran, but Sahaba were very meticulous about, just like we read the hadith, يصبح الرجل مؤمنا ويمسي كافرا أو يمسي كافرا ويصبح مؤمن. He didn't know. He said he wakes up as a Muslim and ends up as a kafir at night. Or did he say, oh, he spends the night, or he goes to bed as a Muslim and wakes up as a kafir? He wasn't sure, so he mentioned both statements just to be sure that he didn't miss anything from the saying of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Follow? Anyhow, he says ثم أداها كما سمع فرب مبلغ أوعى من سامع. Maybe the one who received the knowledge from you, I'm teaching right now, somebody may receive the knowledge and benefit from it more than I did. Same. Maybe some who hears the teaching from you would benefit from it more than you would. You might not know the value of that teaching yourself, but somebody else might know it. And then he says, ثلاث لا يغل عليهن قلب امرئ مسلم. Three things that keep the heart of the Muslim sound, which means the heart will not get corrupted. And that's very important, because a sound heart is a necessity to understand the Quran, understand the Sunnah, understand the Deen, and apply it. إن في ذلك لذكرى لمن كان له قلب. Allah says that. There's a reminder in the Quran, not for everyone. لمن كان له قلب, for those who have a sound heart, right? إلا من أتى الله بقلب سليم. Whoever is saved in Akhirah, يوم لا ينفع مال ولا بنون, nothing will avail the person, no, not his wealth, not his children. إلا من أتى الله qalbin salim. It has to be a sound heart. He says, what are the three things that keep our hearts sound? And that's, he says, ikhlasul amali lillah. To do your best, to be sincere for Allah Azza wa Jalla in everything that you do. You do your salah for Allah, not to show off. You do your fasting for Allah. You do your zakah, sadaqah, charity for Allah. Don't care about the people. So to try to be sincere in our actions towards Allah. And number two, he says, munasahatu ulati amri al-muslimin. To give advice to those who are in charge. Ulat al-amr means anybody in charge, such as somebody in charge of the community, or the ruler himself, or the scholar, which means we don't take them as gods. We actually give advice to them, just like they give advice to us. Because some countries nowadays and some scholars, they have elevated Wulat al-Amr, they say Wali al-Amr, Wali al-Amr, Wali al-Amr, mean the ruler. They have made him a god with Allah Azza wa Jal. I'll give you examples, but I don't want to waste your time right now, but some other time. But so everything, you tell them, why don't you do this? They say, Wali al-Amr didn't say I should do that. Oh, Wali al-Amr told me to do this, I will do that. And it could be haram, but he tells you to do it, you do it. So that's, so no, we actually should be giving advice to them. And number three, وَلُزُومُ جَمَاعَةِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. And to be with the Muslim community. لُزُوم جَمَاعَةِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. You look at their, if you look at their needs, you try to help them, you try to participate with جَمَاعَةِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. You don't consider yourself isolated from Muslims. You have to be with them, help them, and they help you. Because he says, فَإِنَّ دَعْوَتَهُمْ تُحِيطُ مَنْ وَرَاءَهُمْ أو مِنْ وَرَائِهِمْ. He says their dua, the dua of the Muslims together, collectively, he says تُحِيطُ. It is like a barrier and shield that surrounds Muslims and protects them. And that's the importance of us making dua for the people of Gaza and for anybody in distress, not only people of Gaza. Everybody in distress, we make supplication to Allah Azza wa Jal for them. You make supplication for them, and they make supplication for us, and we all make supplication for each other. When we say Ameen in the Salah, you are saying Ameen, Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. You don't say Ihdini, guide me, no, you say guide us, right? We're making dua for all of us. And our Ameen is collectively, each one, I'm helping you, you're helping me, and we're all helping each other. Shall we stop here? Now.